Welcome to Petros Family Tax YouTube channel. Today we're going to cover the taxation of structured notes. So structured notes, typically when you're working with an advisor, there's different ways the income or the potential return is taxed. And whenever you ask a financial advisor, technically they're not able to give a tax advice, but since we're a Petros Family Tax and certified public accountant, can provide some clarity for you in helping understand what the impact is on your tax return. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into a couple examples and share some insights of the pros and cons from a tax perspective of structured notes. So the first one I want to cover here at the top is this is just some basic information, just a hypothetical here. What it's showing is a coupon payment that is contingent based on some underlying investments. That coupon payment is paid to you in cash, assuming some of the underlying performance metrics are met. So in this example, it's 12.6% per year. And because that's a cash payment paid directly to you, that is taxable as interest, assuming it's not in a retirement account, for example. Retirement account doesn't really matter, just pays in cash, no taxable event until you take money out of a traditional IRA, or if it's in a Roth, it becomes tax-free for that distribution. But this is purely for if it's in a taxable account. And typically for these income notes, these structured yield notes, on your 1099, sometimes they show up in that 1099 MISC or miscellaneous, because the custodian and the investment firm doesn't always classify it. But technically you put it in that 1099 INT bucket. So that's the first one, taxation of as taxed as interest for those yield notes. Now let's take a look at this other one. This one looks like it's more like a growth-oriented note, or has a set term and a set participation or upside and downside protection. Being a growth note, there's no income being paid or performance being paid. The only thing that matters is at the end of that term of the 3 years. And so let's say, for example, you purchased it and the underlying investment was up 10%. Looks like the upside participation is 1.4. You made a 14% gain, and since you held it for over a year, that would be considered a long-term capital gain, which typically has a preferred or preferential tax treatment or lower tax treatment than the interest earned on a different investment. And so this would be a capital gains tax treatment. The last one I want to cover is what's called principal protected notes. Now this one's a little bit different. So a principal protected note, it's either protected by the issuer, so like a traditional bond, for example, or sometimes it has FDIC insurance. But the big key on this one, for anything that's principal protected, there's what's called phantom income. So you can see here in this example, it looks like there's some upside participation to some stock basket, whatever it might be, and it's a 5-year term. And so at the end of the 5 years, in a typical growth note, you'd be in the long-term capital gains tax treatment. However, since it's principal protected, it's similar to a bond, or if it's FDIC insured, it's similar to a CD. And so what happens is there's some phantom income as if you were to buy a bond at a similar time. So as an example, if you could purchase a 5-year CD at 4% interest, you put in $1,000, you'll be taxed as if you get $40 interest per year, even though this particular structured note does not pay out that 4%. And so this is typically best in a retirement account, unless you are comfortable with the that phantom income that you're not receiving. But one of the downsides, if you have this in a taxable account, you get that phantom income. Even if you don't make any money on the underlying investment, let's say that basket of stocks is negative after that 5-year period, you didn't lose any money, but you did have to pay taxes on that phantom income in the meantime, and then you would have a capital loss at the end of that 5 years. So this is probably one of the most tricky ones. The trickiest one is you're looking at some of your portfolio, rearranging and analyzing which type might fit into different type of accounts might be fruitful. So with that, hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Thank you so much.